Hey, what's up, you guys? Welcome back to my channel. And for those of you that are new, I'm Remy G. And welcome. And if you haven't already hit that subscribe button, please hit that subscribe button so you can know when I post new videos. Today we're going to be going over Ghost Stories of Laredo, Texas by Laredoans. Recently my video of haunted places in Laredo, Texas have been popping up. And all of you seem to like it, so here's a treat for you guys. Let your friends know. Roll that intro. There is no need to adjust your TV set. What you are about to witness is the paranormal, the strange and the unusual. This is not for everyone. If you stay, viewer discretion is advised. You have been warned. I am currently 34 years old and I live in San Antonio. I was born and raised in Laredo, Texas. I graduated with honors from Martin High School. Once a tiger, always a tiger. I used to live in the Azteca neighborhood when I was 12 years old. I will never forget the story I'm about to tell you. It was summer, and me and the neighborhood kids would ride our bikes in the narrow streets. One night, I was out with Ricky and a few other guys. I recall it was dark, but it wasn't late. We all saw a little man coming from the creek. His face looked very angry. We could not move, as if he was controlling our actions. He came close to Ricky's bike and said something strange. It wasn't English nor Spanish. I cannot recall the exact words, but he said something ending with angry words. Then car lights passed through the streets next to the creek, made him run back into the creek. Ricky died a few months later in a car crash. I will never understand truly what happened that night, but when I saw the movie The Leprechaun, it brought back flashbacks from that night. Believe me or not, we experienced the presence of a leprechaun that night. I never want to dig up this mystery in my life. It was horrible. Saludos mi gente de Laredo. Los duendes sí existen. We will never forget our experience. R.I.P. Ricky. My grandparents on my mother's side used to live and own the house on the corner of Clark Boulevard and McPherson. I remember my mom and grandma talking about a great aunt who passed away that would come out in the dark backyard of the house while they were all outside on the side of the house. One night, they all saw her very distinctly appear and go into the old outhouse. Then she came out, went around the outhouse, and disappeared. She was wearing a long white nightgown and had long braids. One of my uncle's friends was visiting at the time, and he saw her too, and was afraid to walk home alone. So one of our uncles walked him home. This had to happen when I was 7 or 8, so that was in the 1950s. Now my daughter and her sons and myself can see things that some people cannot. Curse or gift or blessing, who knows? I have been a security officer for 10 years. I worked at warehouses, yards, and armored trucks on 359. There is an oil field yard behind Las Misiones. When I started working at the yard, it was fun. Let me get started. Day 1 on the job, I saw a shadow figure that walked from one side of the yard to the other, going from north to south. It passed me again later on, but this time it went east to west. Then the shadow went into the warehouse. I went to go check and found nothing. Day 2, I started to notice a man sitting on the forklift. He was wearing a white shirt and blue jeans, which was an everyday thing. I wasn't scared. One night a man walked out from the brush. I told him to stop. He looked like skin and bones. Again, with a white shirt and blue jeans. He didn't stop. While I reached to pull my gun out, he disappeared. I searched all around and found nothing. By November, December, I started hearing children laughing as if they were playing. I began doing my perimeter checks once or twice per hour. I began looking for the kids and nothing. I went back and I heard them again. I went back again one last time and found nothing. Then I heard it again as I sat down. I didn't go this time. There was an office in the owner's house behind it. I spoke to my friend and he heard people talking outside of the warehouse one night. In the office, the computers turned on by themselves, so I decided to take a picture. I took about 10 pictures just to see what would come out. Sure enough, It was a lot of faces. Then you can tell there were three men. One was just chest up, looked like he was wearing a suit, as if he was the owner. The other two were full-blown silhouettes of men. One was looking outside the window, the other was looking out the window as well, but I didn't know if he was holding a shovel or a rifle. The last two encounters, I was walking back to my car after I'd done a perimeter check around the yard. Then I saw a male figure went through the curtain and kept walking. Then I saw a male figure go through the curtain and kept walking. This was the scariest encounter. I was in my car while watching Netflix, and every hour I got out to do my rounds. Well, this time I saw a man in front of my car hood. He shouted. That was really weird. The ghost looked like skin and bones, and then just vanished. It must have been October, November 2015. I got home late and I didn't want to go inside the house. I was somewhat drunk, so I stayed inside my truck parked in front of the apartments I used to live at the time. This is on the south side, close to Santa Fe and Santa Rita, close to the river. I was asleep. My wife came out and knocked on the window telling me to go inside. But I was really sleepy and I didn't listen. I told her to go back inside and I'll be in a minute. This was around 3 or 4 in the morning. I started sleeping longer with no intention of going inside yet. So my wife came back and knocked on the window again. I said, okay, hold on, I'm going in. Give me a minute. Then it must have been a few minutes and I heard someone trying to open the car door. I thought it was my wife again. I woke up and nobody was there. I looked around to see who was trying to open my car door and found nothing. Then I heard a woman crying, but I saw nobody. I couldn't tell where the cry was coming from. It was coming from all directions, and it kind of scared me. I told myself to go back to sleep. Then again, someone tried opening the door. I opened my eyes and nobody was there. Then the cry started again, but such an eerie cry with lots of emotional pain. This time I tried to figure out where the cry was coming from, but I couldn't. Because the sound was all around you. This time I said, to hell with this. I carefully looked around before opening the car door, and as soon as I saw that there was no one there, I opened the car door and quickly hurried inside. My kids were asleep, but my wife was awake and said, it's about time you came in. I told her what happened. She said a month ago, while I wasn't there, she forgot to tell me that they were outside at 2 in the morning. Then the border patrol stopped and asked them if they could hear a woman crying. They said no. They had been there for a while and hadn't heard anything. He said he's been hearing a woman crying but can't figure out where the crying is coming from. So he was going around trying to figure out what it was. That it was a woman crying and he couldn't figure out where the sound was coming from. Back in 97, me and my parents and 2 sisters moved into a house that consisted of 3 small type houses that were located on Guadalupe Street, close to the Taco Palenque. 2 of the 3 buildings were demolished and one of them was turned into a sound system installation for cars and trucks currently. Let me tell you guys, this house was so scary that we would all fall asleep in the same room with the lights on. Yeah, it was that bad. And not to mention, all lights throughout the house were always on, because as soon as they went off, bad things started happening. It didn't start that way at first. The house was at peace. We didn't find anything wrong with it. First couple of months were okay. But it all changed when my aunt from Monterrey came down to visit us. She was a true believer of La Santa Muerte, which of course my parents were not. Well, the day she got there, she told my mom that something evil was in the house, and my mom told my aunt not to start saying random and crazy stuff like that because nothing ever happened there that would lead us to think something was bad. So the day it all started was when one night we went for some Whataburger. It's not far from the house, to bring it back and eat. It was around 1 in the morning. We were all eating and laughing, having a good time, when all of a sudden we hear 3 knocks on the window. We all stared at each other, and my mom asked, who is it? And my tia said, it's that mother, but in Spanish. My mom asked her, "Who?" And my tia, who's so nervous you could see it in her face, my mom knew it was bad because she was a strong character type person and never showed any type of emotion, especially fear, like she had on her face that night. She asked my mom to take us kids to the other room and leave us there with the TV on, so she did. My mom and my dad and my tia stayed in the other room. Up to this day, I don't know what went down that night, but that was the start of the bad things that started happening in that house. My tia stayed for 2 more days, while her original plan was to stay for the whole summer. So she left, and it all started with small stuff like lights turning off by themselves, knocking here or there, until one night we were all asleep and we woke up to the sound of a blender going off at full blast. And the crazy part is, it happened at 3 a.m. exactly. The blender was an old type of blender that you would have to press really hard down on the buttons for it to start, but it turned on all by itself that night. One night my mom had gotten after me for some reason, so she sent me to one of the rooms. And that room, the light from the outside light would cast on the closet doors. So I was sent to my room, and I was told not to turn on the lights nor the TV. I remember laying in bed just staring at the closet door when two shadows appeared in the closet doors. They seemed small, and I thought it came from my sisters that might be playing outside. So I looked out the window, and to my surprise, there was nothing there. That kind of freaked me out because I was trying to make sense of what just happened, but after a while, blew it off. Well, that day it had rained in the afternoon, so my dad had put some boards going from the back to the front where the road was not paved. It was a dirt roadway. They got all muddy. So that day, my aunt that lives in Nuevo Laredo stopped by to visit us and brought our cousin over with her. I didn't get along with him, to be honest, so I didn't get up from bed. I was watching TV in my room, so he walks in and tells me hi, and sits in the corner of my bed. I had my back turned to him, so when he left, I didn't notice. Out of nowhere, my bed shakes violently, so I was like, "Stop, you're gonna get me in trouble," but didn't pay much attention to it. It happened again, and that's when I turned around and said, "Stop it." To my surprise, he wasn't even in the room. My heart sank. I ran out scared and didn't say anything. I was trying to make sense of what just happened, so I stayed in the living room watching TV with my sister. When all of a sudden, my kid sister began going pale greenish, and out of nowhere spoke in a deep man's voice. I stood as fast as I could from the couch and yelled for my parents. They came running in and grabbed her and told me to take my smaller sister to my room and turn the TV on and stay in there. Keep in mind, my bed was just shaking violently, so that wasn't what I wanted to do. I took her to my mom's room, and I could hear the deep voice coming out of my sister and my parents praying hard. My sister then let out the loudest scream in that deep voice and heard a growl that sounded like a large dog. It took over the whole house. Next thing I heard was the door being slammed hard. And I mean hard, and heard the sound of like dogs running outside on the boards that my dad had placed earlier. I could hear the claws of what seemed like a dog scratching the boards as it ran out. After that day, we all stayed in the car outside of the parking lot at HEB on Guadalupe Street. My dad had to pawn stuff in order to get money for a deposit for another house. We didn't care if it was small, ugly, run down, or anything. We just wanted to move out. We actually left a lot of our stuff, like furniture. We just grabbed our clothes and started from scratch. It was the worst experience I've ever had. Thank you guys for sticking out through the video, for those of you that did. Also, please remember to subscribe, like, and tell your friends about this. And hopefully you guys enjoyed that. If you guys want me to do more scary stuff, let me know. Or if you guys want me to do more painting, let me know. I'm doing all this for you guys. But for right now, if y'all have a scary story that you want to submit, leave it in the comments below, or find me on Facebook, Instagram, Snapchat, Twitter, or Discord. I'll leave links to all the description down below. I'll leave links down below. Other than that, guys, thank you all for those of you that made it to the end. Sweet dreams.